you look at like past years where you're just missing that one piece or two pieces that fill out what Cassidy wants to build with in terms of playing with pace, being being effective on the forecheck, generating offense. It seems like every year, there's so many guys they've acquired. You're like, does that really fit with what they're looking for? Like, is Nick Ritchie exactly what Nick Ritchie at the time fit in terms of like, oh, you need a big bodied guy, net front guy in the playoffs. But is he the guy that excels in Cassidy's system? Probably not. So, and I think we're going to dive into a little bit. But you look at just how Vegas was constructed, fit perfectly what Cassidy's trying to do: speed, size on the blue line, shots from the blue line, all those things. So again, it's whichever way you look at it, players or front office not surrounding Cassidy with the best personnel to play to his strength as a coach. It's a tough look. It's not great, Evan.
CLNS Media's Bruins coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.
Not great. I will always go back to that Rick Nash trade because if that goes right, if Rick Nash plays in the 2018-19 season and continues and you get it, you get some mileage out of him and saying he doesn't get injured again, and you go into the Stanley Cup playoffs with him, like that was a guy to me who kind of made sense for Cassidy's system. But after that, there weren't a ton of moves that sort of aided that, especially on the back end as well, right? Like Zdeno Chara left and you didn't really give Cassidy any guy to replace him. Again, I'm not saying you're replacing 6'9" Zdeno Chara, who's the captain, but you're not really replacing him with a number one defenseman. You're just saying, all right, McAvoy's going to kind of slot into that, but no one really on that left side. Krug left too. And there was really Grizzly can kind of just slot in. And I mean, the back end was really kind of where it crumbled for a lot of times with them. And it also did in this playoff run too. So I guess you have that as well. But man, I mean, you're right. Like they just didn't maximize Cassidy. And again, like the issue was never like, I don't think the Bruins never thought, they can't win with Cassidy. They almost did. It came away in 2019. I think it kind of came down to, as we've said, that next potential of guys, that next core that was in place when Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand and those older guys were done. The guys like DeBrusk and Carlo and some others, could they unleash that next bit of potential? Montgomery got it out of them in the regular season, didn't in the postseason. And, I mean, are they too soft? We've discussed this. Hopefully this is a learning lesson, but a lot of those guys did also have the 2019 learning lesson in Game 7 as well. So it's like, how many learning lessons are you going to need to kind of right the ship here? The old core, the Bergeron core really needed like one, and it was the 2010 debacle against the Flyers, which do you think there's something to be taken out of that? To compare to this, because the teams were very different. The cores were different from that. But I remember, at the time there were calls to fire Claude, there were calls to, trade certain pieces, and they kept it together and they won the next year. Now, obviously, again, we're not really expecting them to go back next year, and we're not saying they're going to win the cup. But is there some sort of lesson to take of like, there are obviously a lot of people saying, you got to fire Montgomery. I don't know. Give it a chance. See if they've learned anything. I think that's more the takeaway from this.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine if you come off a record-setting year and then promptly fumble it away in the first round, you're going to come back pretty pissed and motivated to prove people wrong. So, yeah, I mean, you hope it's a learning lesson, right? Hell, I mean, I don't know how you don't take away from that series and look at how much went wrong in terms of self-inflicted miscues, not adjusting to Florida's forecheck. Like all these correctable mistakes over a 7-game series, you would think a veteran-led team would be able to correct at least one of those areas, right? Even if you're not fully solving the forecheck. Maybe you're just dumping the puck out and simplifying your breakout, what have you. You have to imagine they learned something from it. But I think the biggest challenge for the Bruins, or the biggest step forward, is not just, taking your lumps again, because as you said, they did it in 2019. It has to be how you're tweaking this roster, because I think you do need to make some changes to better equip yourself for how I think cups are won now, right? I think you look at Vegas and the way they've built their team. It's not to say the Bruins have the cap or the assets or anything to just be like, oh, let's sign the next Petraglia. Let's trade for Eichel. You don't have that. But I think you look at just the characteristics of Vegas, they kind of fall in line with, I think, a lot of other cup winners over the last couple of years.
CLNS Media's Bruins coverage is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win.